One of the final things that you may want to do for your client or your customer is ensure that everything's operating properly and fire things up, install the water filter, and perhaps even give them an orientation tour of their appliance. The other thing we'll want to do is remove these yellow stickers from the inside of the door, since they're there for our reference as the installer and are no longer needed and are unsightly for the customer to look at. So we'll remove those. The first thing we want to do that you'll notice is the unit is in standby mode, so it is getting electricity, but it's just not turned on. So to turn it on, we will touch the power button on the far left of the control. And when it first comes on, we'll see 0 degrees, we'll see the date and the time are not set, and it will show us an initial test. And so the initial test is like a boot up sequence that the appliance goes through and checks all the fans and the sensors that are necessary for the proper operation of the appliance. So you can see now the lights are engaged and being tested. So while we're doing this, while it's running through its initialization phase, the initial test, we'll install the water filter for the automatic ice maker. So this is the water filter that comes with the unit. Replacement filters can be ordered from www.thevetagroup.com. And the duty cycle on the water filter is 12 months. And so you drop down the top glass ceiling, place the filter inside the manifold, and a quarter turn to the right will engage the filter into the manifold. The manifold is an automatic bypass manifold, so if the filter is there or if it's not, it doesn't matter. The system will run equally as well. The requirements for water pressure though, if you're not using the filter, i.e. you're feeding the unit from an RO system or a pre-filtered system, you need a minimum of 7.25 psi up to a maximum of 72.5 psi. If you're using the filter though, it is a carbon block filter. It requires a higher minimum pressure in order for the system to operate correctly. You need now a minimum of 25 psi if you're using the filter. The upper limit is still 72.5 psi. The appliance has finished its initial test, and now, as you can see, the display will cycle between showing the date and the time and startup phase. And so the startup phase is going to flash off and on until the appliance has reached its set point temperatures. So we can see right now we're showing the actual temperatures inside the appliance. 24 degrees in the refrigerator, 21 degrees down in the tri-mode drawer, which as a default from the factory is a freezer. It can also be converted to a refrigerator or a fresco compartment. We can see the set point temperature by touching one of the adjustment buttons. We can see the refrigerator has been set to a default of 5 degrees Celsius, and the tri-mode drawer, as acting as a freezer, is set to minus 18 degrees Celsius. So those are the set temperatures, and then it goes back to the real-time temperatures inside the compartment. It should take several hours for each compartment to cool down to the set temperatures. Remind the customer that they can expect to not see ice for upwards of 24 hours while it pulls down to freezing temperatures and then starts the ice making process. This is something you'll also want to do by turning on the ice maker by touching the icon. Our initial test is complete. We're still in the startup phase and we've turned on the ice maker. In order for the ice maker to work correctly, it has to sense that water is actually coming into the ice maker. And so what we want to do as a final step for the customer after we've done our installation is purge the water line of any air that might still be in there from doing installation. Of course, there's going to be air in the water line that travels up to the water filter and then back down to the ice maker. We want to make sure that that's out of there so that the ice maker will function correctly right from the startup. In order to do that, we enter into the special customer menu and we will do what is called a manual clean, which then opens up the water valves and allows a certain amount of water to come through into the ice bin. So we'll do that now. So we access the customer menu by pressing the menu key on the touch interface, and we will go into functions. So we hit enter to enter into functions. And we want to scroll up to water filter. We hit enter, and then we go into not status filter, but manual clean. And we press enter, and we'll get a please wait. And while we're waiting, it's actually turning the ice tray upside down so that when the water comes in, it doesn't actually go into the tray. It cascades off the back of the bottom of the tray into the ice bin. Our manual clean sequence is complete, and now we're going to check to see how much water we have collected in the ice bin. We want to see roughly 750 milliliters or 3.5 cups. That tells us that all the air is out of the system and that our water pressure is within the acceptable limits. We do indeed have water in our ice bin, which is good. Carefully take it out. We'll pour it into a measuring cup over here. Try not to spill any. We can put the tray back in. Make sure it goes all the way to the back of the drawer. And we can see we're in that neighborhood of the 3.5 cups or 750 milliliters. So I'm happy with that. I think we've got the air out of the system and the pressures are within the required limits. I've come back the day after our installation and I want to check that all the systems are working correctly. So let's open the door and have a look. And we can see the refrigerator compartment temperature is indeed at the 5 degrees centigrade set point, and the tri-mode drawer, which is operating as a freezer right now, is showing a minus 18 degrees Celsius. So all systems seem to be fully operational and the unit looks to be good to go.